Getty: there is little evidence a second referendum on Brexit would change the result. Sir John Curtis, who correctly predicted the Conservatives would lose their majority in the 2017 general election, said there is far from sufficient evidence that a second referendum would reverse the result of the original vote. Analysis of polling since the 2016 ballot shows increased pessimism about the likely outcome of the withdrawal talks, but little shift in voter intentions, according to the University of Strathclyde academic, in a report published by the UK in A Changing Europe, which is funded by the Economic and Social Research Council, ESRC. To mark 1 year to Exit Day, he said the country is still deeply divided. Sir John said, has this apparently rather more doubtful mood served to reduce support for Brexit? There is some sign of movement, but not enough to suggest that the country is anything other than more or less evenly divided down the middle on the subject, much as it was on referendum day itself. The polling guru said there have been relatively few polls of how people might vote in a second referendum, and those that had been carried out were close and come with a health warning. In February 2017, 33% felt that the UK would get a good deal compared to 37% who did not, but by end of the year that had switched to just 19% to 52%, according to research agency NatCan. He added, the current poll estimate that 52% might now vote for Remain is far from sufficient evidence to be sure that a second ballot would see a reversal of the original result. This becomes even more apparent when we identify what appears to account for the slight shift registered by the polls. It is not based on any marked tendency amongst those that voted Leave to say that they would now vote Remain. The principal reason why polls now show a small lead for Remain is that, while around 1 in 5, 21%, of those who did not vote in 2016 say they would now vote Leave, around a half, 51%, state that they would now vote Remain. In short, at present at least, the outcome of any second referendum looks as though it could well depend on who did and did not turn out to vote on the day. It follows Remainer MP Nicky Morgan, who ruled out a second EU referendum taking place, claiming it would almost be destructive for the country to do so. She told The Telegraph, "We are better off for geopolitical reasons more than anything else, being part of the European Union, but that ship has sailed. The 2016 referendum has been so decisive for the country and it sits so uneasily with our representative democracy, that I think it would almost be destructive to have a second referendum." What we have seen over the last 12 months is that Brexit is enormously complicated, and trying to boil all of that down to a second referendum would be enormously challenging and would not be good for the state of the nation. Earlier this month, the Brexit transition terms that were agreed in a landmark deal earlier this month were hailed by Brexit Secretary David Davis and the EU's lead negotiator Michel Barnier as a significant and decisive step. BC's leading pollster Sir John Curtis claimed little has changed. It will see Britain now officially leave the EU on March 29, 2019, and will remain in a standstill transition that will see it continue to operate in a single market until the end of 2020, but without having any say in decision-making. The standout aspects are EU citizens arriving in Britain post-Brexit will have access to automatic residency rights until the end of the transition period, while the EU has allowed Britain to negotiate and sign trade deals in this time. Ms. Morgan has backed the deal, adding it is vitally important Britain still maintains various partnerships throughout the EU, particularly from a security and business perspective.